another disappointing Monday morning. That's the way it's been my whole life, at least during the fall, and I'm sure for a lot of you Lions fans, it's pretty much the same. Um, but my thoughts on this game, the headline is the exact same as it was last week, that the main problem with this team is Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn. Yes, even after they've been fired, their actions are still hurting this team. Let's start off with Matt Patricia. So, the Detroit Lions lost yesterday, and I hate moral victories. But I will say this: the team looks different. They aren't getting blown out anymore. When they get their butts kicked, they respond. This team has a pulse at least, and they at least look like they belong on the field. With Matt Patricia, that wasn't the case. Against the Texans, the Lions looked like they just didn't want to be there. Yesterday, they did look like they want to be there. They played with some emotion, and there was no way they were winning that game, but they didn't give up to the very end. And just the fact that you see the last onside kick, how close they came to recovering it. And Chase Daniel going down the field, getting him a field goal to make it a one-score game. This team didn't quit yesterday, even without their star quarterback injured. So, I'm not saying that, woohoo, yay, like a sixth grade coach would say. But I will say this, is that it does highlight a big difference between Bevel and Patricia. That these players just did not respect Matt Patricia. And now this is 2 weeks in a row that they've played pretty good football and a lot more inspired. And that just highlights the problem with Patricia. And now let's get on to Bob Quinn. So yesterday, the Packers won because the Packers had more talent than the Lions. It's just that simple. You could say Aaron Rodgers, but the truth is, it's not just Rodgers. And Rodgers isn't even that much better than Matt Stafford, if I'm being completely honest with you. The difference is the Packers' corners are a lot better. Their front seven's a lot better. Their offensive line is a lot better than our defensive line. And that's the reason I won this game. And Bob Quinn, that's all on you. You've made the player personnel decisions for the last 5 or 6 years, and this is the product you have on the field. The worst front seven in football. I think it's the worst front seven in football. A pretty bad secondary, among the bottom 20 in football. And the fact is, there's just not enough talent at either one of those positions. And, I look at this defense, I look at the roster, and to be completely honest with you, there's maybe 4 or 5 guys that might start on the top 20 NFL defenses, if you know what I mean. Like, I think Trey Flowers, Romeo Okwara, I would say Oruwariye, Jamie Collins. I'm trying to think, maybe Justin Coleman might. He's on the border for me. And same with Harmon, Deron Harmon, the safety. Other than that, a lot of these guys probably don't belong on an NFL roster. Other than Jamie Collins, I can tell you the other linebackers on the Lions team don't belong on an NFL roster. And Bob Quinn, the linebacker position is the one that's most infuriating. And same with the defensive tackle position. So, first thing Quinn did when he, was hired as GM is he drafted Gerard Davis with his first or second draft in the first round. And so far, it's been a complete disaster. I don't know if that's because of the coaching or if it's because of Davis, but he looks clueless out there. And I got to be honest with you, too. There's times out there he looks really slow. Can't seem to move his feet and get into coverage. Just doesn't seem like he has a lot of agility. And that's a real serious issue at linebacker. So the fact that you couldn't pick up that red flag really has set this organization back because, it's a wasted first-round pick. One of those happens once in a while, but then a few years later, we're still really weak at the linebacker position. And he decides to draft Jahani Tavai. Well, here's the problem. Tavai is a big, run-stuffing linebacker. He can take up blockers, stuff up the middle, but I'll tell you what he can't do. He's not fast, and he cannot run sideline to sideline. And this state age of football, with spread offenses, I got a question for you. Who do you think plays in a phone booth anymore? I'm talking old school, I formation, fullback. Well, I'll give you a hint to that question. I think only one or two NFL teams actually have a fullback on the roster. So that pretty much tells you that football has turned into a spread sideline to sideline. It's become more about speed than it has been becoming just about physicality and raw power. And, I don't want to say humans are outdated, but I'll put it this way. Jahanni Tavai, Jarrad Davis, their playing abilities are outdated. They might have been good players 15, 20 years ago, not anymore. They can't run sideline to sideline, and that's a huge problem. And the fact that Quinn doesn't recognize this is a real concern. And Patricia is not guiltless either, because he played a big role in drafting Tavai, thinking, this is a scheme fit. Well, your scheme sucks, and the player you drafted is not good. And then looking at the defensive line too, Quinn never, ever addressed the defensive line. I mean, the fact of the matter is, when the lines have been at their best, they've had really great defensive lines. For example, Rob Porcher, mid-90s, Ndamukong Suh and Nick Fairley and Ziggy Ansah earlier this decade. I mean, Flowers is an okay right end. I would say he would start on a lot of teams, but is he really that game changer? No. And the defensive tackle is really underwhelming. Panitsi's okay, but I mean, it would look a lot better with Derek Brown in the middle. I can tell you that much for sure. It would look a lot better with Ed Oliver at one of the edges, that's for sure. I could go on and on. The fact of the matter is, Quinn has never made a first-round trade in the draft either. And the linebacking core would look a lot better with Tremaine Edmonds, but he refused to trade up and get him. And you know what? Sometimes when you sit right where you are and you never take chances, you ever heard the saying in finance, low risk, low reward? Well, that's what Bob Quinn basically is. Doesn't take risks and doesn't want to foot the bill, and as a result, we don't get the reward. So that's the reason why our front seven is the worst in football, and I don't even think it's close. Just watch these games. These guys can't stop the run. They can't get pressure on the quarterback consistently. Maybe one player, Okwara, can get pressure on the quarterback this year, and that's really about it. And it would help the secondary out a lot if we could just get some pressure. But the problem is we can't. Our linebackers can't cover tight ends. That's a problem. It's just not surprising what happened yesterday, because Quinn and Patricia have kept this organization from being a playoff team. And I'll probably make another video on whether we should have fired Jim Caldwell or not. I don't want to get into that right now because, we're running a little bit long. But in summary, Lions played a decent game yesterday. The Packers won because they were the better football team. And there were a couple of questionable calls, but I'll leave it at that. The Packers deserved to win, and they did because they were better. But they did not win because they wanted it more. The Lions actually played a full game and, didn't really shoot themselves in the foot, didn't do anything too stupid, and, really went for it till the end. And that's not something I could say under any of the games I've watched Matt Patricia's team, to be 100% honest with you. So that's my thoughts. If you guys have any reaction to that, comment below. Thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe and like below if you want more Detroit sports news, and we'll see you next time.